Alright, we're out here shooting Mr. McPherson's car, wrapping up this build. And this is the official prototype car for our ITB kit that we released. He's running a bunch of our goodies. He's got 45mm individual throttle bodies. We did our Plug and Play MS2 kit with the multi-coil spark, drop-in crank angle sensor that some people say doesn't work. It does. We drove it all the way here. Works fine. Just got to know what you're doing. We pulled the cylinder head off and shaved it. It was warped about 6 or 7 thousandths. So we shaved the cylinder head, retimed the cam, put an adjustable gear in it. It's got a Schneider Stage 2 cam. Just your standard N42 combo. We also did a vintage air in this, and this is the prototype car we used for the vintage air hoses, the brackets, and all that for the 280Z. So we got quite a bit of goodies on this thing. He was gracious enough to ship it all the way from Georgia to have us hang on all this stuff. And so here we are, we're getting ready to give him a Merry Christmas. Hey, it's ready to pick up. It's got a 6-to-1 header, straight pipe all the way back, no muffler. And on the decel tune, I'd actually talked to him about getting rid of some of the backfiring. On these ITBs, you got to do a little bit of different work to the map. It's tuned on the alpha N strategy rather than your traditional map sensor. So it's RPM versus throttle position. And on decel, you know, you still got injector pulse, so it's just dumping fuel and backfiring out of the exhaust. And some people call it a burble tune, but he actually likes it, so we're going to leave it alone. He told us not to tune it out. But if you're ordering one of our ITB kits, we can do it with or without the quote-unquote burble tune. Some people like it, some people think it's annoying. I think it's cool, but everybody has their own taste. Shout out to Xeon Photos again for putting it down. He does amazing photography work. That's why he's basically our exclusive photographer. Check out his Instagram. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, hire him. He also had us do a bunch of other goodies. We did a set of energy suspension urethane, steering gear bushings. He sent us a solid rear differential mount we put in. We put on his Z32 caliper kit. I'm almost certain it's the Milk Fab adapters. I'm almost certain. I gotta look. So it's got Z32 front brakes, standard drums in the rear. It's got a Cybon carbon fiber hood. Did a bunch of blacked out trim. Got a nice set of Koenig wheels as well. The typical Koenig Rewinds or Panasports are all basically the same style. But other than that, I think we're going to do a little bit of driving footage to give you some of the impressions and expectations with the individual throttle body kit and what this car is like to drive. And then we're going to send it back home to Georgia so that Mr. McPherson can enjoy his new build. So yeah, don't expect a ton of power increase if you're keeping this on a relatively stock setup. Like I said, it's definitely better, but for what you invest, it's not exactly the most cost-effective way to make power. But this isn't the pathway to make the most power for what you spend. This is a pathway to get that iconic induction sound, period correct look under the hood. The throttle response is significantly improved. Like, it just revs up so much faster, even with a stock engine. So, let's go for a drive. Depending on how you have the tune set up, you may experience quite a bit of backfiring on decel. That can be tuned out. What's happening is you're just getting excessive fuel entering the combustion chamber on the exhaust stroke, and it's dumping into the manifold, so it's hitting that hot manifold or header and popping. This customer specifically requested we leave it. It's not excessive by any means, but if you're running an actual baffled muffler and all that, you could theoretically blow out the muffler, and it actually happened on Mr. Avery's car. So we ended up tuning all of the deceleration pop out of it. But like this one, it's a header with a cherry bomb and straight pipe exhaust. He's cool with it and likes it. So depending on how much degeneracy you want to take part in, it's actually kind of fun. Get out on the main road, let you hear some of that induction noise. Otherwise, cruising, just like any other factory fuel injection car. No drivability concerns as long as you tune it properly. The tuning strategy on these is significantly easier to do. You use a tuning strategy called Alpha N, and basically what it does is it uses the throttle position sensor versus RPM. So that's your XY on that tuning table, and it just tells the computer at X amount of throttle and X amount of and Y amount of RPM, this is what the fueling should be. And it's real simple, especially to run an auto tune. You literally just drive it and let the map correct itself. We'll do a more in-depth video for Megasquirt setup on this specific strategy. And then ignition timing, you run just regular vacuum. And the reason you run vacuum for the ignition map and not the fueling map is because our particular setup does not have a balance tube that goes across all 6 cylinders on the intake manifold. So we actually have each individual throttle body has a small vacuum port that we loop together with T's and then move into a single vacuum hose that now goes to the ECU, and it feeds it vacuum data that we can use for timing advance. And on these, it's a very simple timing advance map. We typically just try to mimic, mechanical advance you would find with the factory distributor style setup. And we've had really good results with that. There's no reason to get into anything crazy intricate as far as the timing map goes. It's not reliable enough for doing fuel. You get too many oscillations in the vacuum signal to use it for fuel injection, or for the fuel correction side, but for ignition, it's perfectly fine. Alright, same gig with hot starting. Went inside the store to grab a couple things. Just a little bit of partial throttle just to get the engine speed up when you first start it. Starts right up. No more vapor locking. No more fuel boiling in the rail. None of that factory EFI nonsense. And none of the carburetor nonsense either. You don't have to change out jets. You don't have to continually service them, tune them. You just bolt it on, you tune it, and you go. And it will auto-correct for all of the minor things like temperature, humidity, elevation. So something else you got to ask yourself is what's your time worth? I mean, yeah, for some of you old timers, carburetors are easy, but what's your time worth? You want to keep screwing with the car, or do you just want to bolt something on and be done with it? So that's what we market towards. Is yeah, the initial price can sticker shock you, but what would you be willing to pay for reliability?